What's going on, world? It's an exciting week in the world of real estate. Some of you know I've not slept in months and I finally got some sleep, right? But Katie Lance and I, we go back a very, very long time. I know that I have been watching Katie at least it's almost 20 years. So that means you was a baby, right? On the
A
stage at Inman,
baby.
right? You and Chris Smith. And I'm like, how did they get on that stage? And where did she learn about technology? And oh, I want to do technology too. So what's going on today, Katie?
It's awesome to be here, Marky. Thank you so much for inviting me. I always love our conversations.
Thank you. I love our conversations too. And here's the thing, we haven't had a deep dive conversation in what real estate education looks like now that we are fully immersed in the world of artificial intelligence and chat GPT.
Yeah, it's changed a bit, or not even a bit. It's changed a lot, and it's pretty mind blowing. I mean, I don't have to tell you that. I know I'm preaching to the choir. There's so many opportunities just to make our job better and the job of real estate professionals better.
Yeah. And we were joking a little earlier, right? Because we both have Canva courses. And last week, we were probably both sitting at home, minding our business, watching a Canva webinar. Now, let me just, before we even dive into Canva, the first thing that I thought about as I was watching Canva was, ooh, I need to add some sequence to my on stage outfits because everyone had on a vibrant color with
Yes.
sequence. Did you notice that?
I was like, oh, I love how bright and colorful the sequins. Yes, I'm like, this is absolutely fantastic. I need to buy some sequins.
Right. So I'm sitting here like, I don't have any sequence. Oh, I'm going to bring sequence to the stage. I'm going to look like I'm going to an event every time I hit the stage, right?
I love it.
I mean, everybody had on a vibrant color. Everyone had on some type of shimmer or sequence or rhinestones. Like it was just a fashion show, right?
Yeah.
And what I also liked as a company, how they did their launch, where we could be inside of Canva, watching Canva simultaneously, and then we would go and click on a little box and it would reveal something new. And we were trying it out at the same identical time as Canva was presenting it to the world.
Yeah. It was really, really well done. And they had,
Wasn't it?
something like millions of people watching at the same time, which is, unbelievable. It was pretty awesome.
So what I knew before we were on that webinar last week was that Canva was implementing AI into their platform. And so right around the time that ChatGPT became accessible to all, I instantly noticed that we had text to photos, we had bulk upload,
Yep.
and we had magic write,
Mm-hmm.
right? What I did not realize was that they were going to expand or reveal 10 new tools, and I can't even say how many ways, right, for
Mm-hmm.
us to use those tools. So, got two questions for you. One, what is your new favorite AI tool in Canva? And then, what tool you don't think is that valuable to real estate professionals?
Well, it is pretty cool to see all the new features for sure. I love the Magic Write. I mean, I had been playing around with that even before their launch or their big event. And then before it was primarily part of Canva Docs, I believe, and then that sort of rolled out site wide to just about any type of graphic you could create within Canva. I still think that's pretty fantastic. I love the bulk create. I actually did a whole training about this in our academy just a few days ago, right after the launch, about how you can go into Canva and say, hey, come up with write for me 10 tips for first time home buyers, right? And it'll spit out 10 tips. And of course you can go in there and finagle it and edit it and make it, in your voice, of course, as we teach, and then be able to take that and then within a matter of a couple clicks, be able to bulk create 10 graphics, right? Pretty quickly and easily, which is amazing. I think in addition to that, there were some other cool features. We have some folks in our academy who work in multiple languages. And so I love the translate new feature. So I think for any agent who is bilingual or has ever worried about, getting their materials in Spanish or French or whatever it might be, whatever languages they speak, I think that's a pretty amazing thing within Canva. I love the magic erase button. I think any agent who's ever had like a crazy thing appear in a picture and they're like, how do I get that like towel off the counter? The fact that you can just, basically erase something on a picture and take it out. There's obviously some limitations and we want to be, accurate to how a house looks, of course, with fair housing and everything. But that I think is pretty cool. I think there's a couple features that I'm still a little bit on the fence about. There's an animate feature, which I've always loved that you can animate things in Canva. But there's a new feature where you can animate graphics. Like they have this little example on Canva. If you go into Canva, you've seen this marquee where it's like a little bumblebee, moving across the screen or animating, planets. And I'm like, okay, trying to see how that could work for real estate. The jury's still out. There's also another feature called Beats where you can take a video and sync it to music, which I think is, in theory, really, really cool. One of the things I shared with you before we went on the air is I'm just a little nervous about putting music into a Canva creation and then putting it onto Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, where notoriously that type of content would get suppressed, but we'll see. The jury's still out. We try different things. We see what works. But it is pretty exciting. There's a lot of really cool features.
What I love about the features, when we're talking with real estate professionals, I tell them Canva should be one tool that they invest in, period. It's not negotiable. And at this point, if we're talking about $119, right, and you can't afford $119, then we have a bigger issue, right? Yeah. Because besides all of the new AI that they just infused into Canva, if we come back and take a look at Canva, before Canva with AI, and so far they haven't gone up on our billing, right? Mm-hmm. I want us to come back to the fact that we had templates that we could easily share and sell, right?
Yep.
We have Canva websites. Mm-hmm. We have Canva video with video editing, B-roll, not only B-roll videos, but music, okay?
Yeah.
In addition, you have a social media scheduler. And last year we talked about the fact that Hootsuite went from $5.99 to $75 a month. Like, I was a little mad, right?
Yeah.
But you can schedule every last one of your creations inside of Canva. So one thing that we did this year was we formed a bilingual advisory board, because as soon as AI rolled out and we started using it back at the beginning of December, we knew that we wanted to take all of our current content and translate it into another language. Now, what I will say, someone came on a post that I did do this with Canva the other day, and they were like, I see several errors right now. Here's what I had already done. When I took the English and converted it to Spanish, I then took the Spanish version to another platform, and I translated it back to English. So I already knew that there were 3 tenses, right, that were different in English.
Right.
But here's what I will say, because there are people who are going to try to discourage people from trying different tools, especially in the translate. Mm-hmm. There's not one dialect, right? There's numerous dialects when it comes to Spanish. You have Spain, you have Mexico, you have Cuba. Now, I heard my Cuban friends are serious about their Spanish, right? And this is a conversation I'm having with my bilingual advisory board, right? With different people who speak Spanish from different places. So with that being said, do your due diligence, right? But I went to another platform and then translated it back to what I know that I speak. And did I know that there was the potential for 3 errors? Yes. Were there several errors? Absolutely not. And then I want to see how people write English, because everyone isn't writing English perfectly, right? I'm from the south side of Chicago. I speak Ebonics. It's its own dialect of English. And so do the best that you can. And just like you put a disclaimer for if you're working off of your mobile device that there might be some typos, I would be as transparent in a disclaimer right now that, I don't speak Spanish fluently, but I want to deliver content in as many ways as humanly possible. There may be some grammatical errors. And put your disclaimer right at the bottom, but that doesn't mean that you don't try it. That doesn't mean that you don't do it, because when we look at translation, whether it's in Canva, whether it's with Chat GPT, I'm using a new tool called Let's Chat. When we look at AI, one of its greatest successes is in the translation, right? Whether that's subtitles, however you want to do it today, you can do it, right? So I want everybody to try, never think about being perfect. There is a quote, and I think that we might live by this quote, done is better, better than perfect, because there isn't a perfect, right? But these tools can be quite overwhelming. So what was the first thing, if you can recall, that you did when you had access to AI?
The first thing I did, probably, honestly, I probably used one of the prompts that ChatGPT had. I remember hearing about it early on. It was, I think, right around like Thanksgiving, November, December, right when it came out. And heard about it first on TikTok. I heard all these marketers talking about it. I was like, what is this? All right. And logged in, and, this, but you go to ChatGPT and I think it's still on their homepage. They have a few prompt ideas, because, if you don't know what you don't know, you're like, wait, I don't know. What am I supposed to do? Ask it? What do you mean ask it something, right? It sounds so silly, but so I think there was a prompt of whatever it was, something about a recipe or something. I'm like, okay, typed in whatever their prompt was. I wish I remembered exactly what it was, but it was something about a recipe, and which is funny because I don't cook, so it probably wasn't helpful. But within a matter of seconds, spit back out this recipe, and then I'm like, wait a minute. And so, because I'm in the world of teaching social media for real estate, I was like, write out a list of tips for realtors for social media, right? And I was like, that's pretty good. And then I really started to think about, okay, the different areas of how we serve our clients and our academy. And just, it was interesting. I kind of feel like I was testing it out. I knew what I would say. I knew what I would teach. What would it come back as? What would, and it's only, kind of grown from there. It's been a great way to just enhance what we're already doing, enhance the emails that we're sending out, enhance the checklist of the downloads and the workbooks. I always tell people it's not replacing it. It's just helping you be so much more effective with your time. I think for most people, especially in real estate, if you look at a blank page and go, okay, write a 500 word article about the real estate market. It's like, okay, if you're a writer, sure, but if having a little bit of a guide to say, okay, here's a starting point. Now add your finesse, add your 2 cents, add a personality. And that was a long answer to your question.
No. Because I think my answer is going to be long. So I had saw Gary Vee talk about it, and I actually had saved the Instagram story about it. And I said, I'm gonna have to check this out, because Gary is generally very accurate, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, if he's talking about it, I'm going to try this out. Mm-hmm. And a few days later, I seen Charlene Johnson, and she was talking about it, and she was talking about it for the fitness business. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, tonight I'm going to try it out. So in the month of December, we both working hard, right? We got
Mhm.
end of the year sales. I'm like, oh, let me go check this Chat GPT thing out. And it was late night, probably like 9 o'clock. And I did not go to bed until 4 a.m. And I'm the person who gets 7.5 hours of sleep every
Mhm.
night religiously, right? So I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, you log in. This is going to change my life. And then I'm looking, I'm like, all it is a chat, right? Like it has to be more to this than me
Right.
just typing into this chat, like a Google search.
Mhm.
And the first thing I did was something for real estate. And by the time I went to bed that night, after I tried all of these different prompts, how long can we use this? Oh, they're going to definitely charge for this platform. These are all the conversations I'm having with myself.
You're like, I better use it before it goes down.
I better use it. And then I said, Marky, do not come up with a list of new ideas. Shore up your existing businesses.
Yeah.
What does that look like? And so I went over to my notebook with this long list of things to do. And we all have things we don't like to do. And
Mhm.
so I know that based on my personality, and I'm a high DI, but I'm gonna tell you about a tool called Humatics that will tell you the disc of the people you're doing business with, so you can tailor your messaging directly to people's personality. So um, I went through. I am not empathy is hard for me, and so I'm not good at condolence messages, things of that nature. So I went in and had it start writing me messages, right? And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this sounds pretty good. And it took me a couple of days until I got a email from Grammarly, and I had seen Grammarly on one of the AI lists. So
Yeah.
Grammarly is an AI tool.
Yeah.
And when that email came over, it told me, oh, we've corrected over 4 million words since September 2015. Here's your tone. And I said, they've been AIing me for a decade now. I know they have, right? And you realize how much AI has been used on us, right? With
Yeah.
Grammarly and with Otter.ai that we've been using for our, our, our audio to text transcription. And
Mhm.
so I said, oh, if I know my tone, I can tell it to talk in my tone and it'll sound like this high DI marky, right? So now I'm telling it tone. But
Mhm.
here's what I realized. So I was writing a expired campaign for Skylar, my 26-year-old son.
Mhm.
And he wanted to go after a more seasoned homeowner. And when I asked for the campaign, it first spit out, because you're getting older. I said, oh child, you'll never get a transaction telling an older person because you're getting old. I went back and I added uh, turn to a respectful tone. And it talked about buying a house to create a legacy and family dinners. And I'm like, oh, Skylar, every single time you tell Chat GPT to do something, I want you to do it in a respectful tone. And
Mm.
when we talk about telling it what to do, it's described as a prompt. And
Yeah.
so a prompt is instructions, and then every single instruction should have a tone, right?
Yeah.
And we've been off to the races ever since. I
That's
think
awesome.
I'm new classes in. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't even know how I got away with this, but let me tell you what I've gotten away with. Every program that I have taught since January the 1st,
Mhm.
I have included artificial intelligence into that class
That's great.
with without permission. with, with zero permission. And I just kind of tell, the ed director, whoever, oh, we're going to add a little AI. Every last one of these programs, I can see people sit on the edge of their seats, light bulbs, right? Just flickering through the room
Yeah.
because their eyes are like this, right? And every program evaluation has been ridiculously high, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I I think that you and I have been in this industry long enough that some things we just know. It's a gut feeling. And we knew that this was changing our businesses. If it can change our businesses, it definitely can change a real estate professional's business.
Absolutely.
So now everything I'm booking has AI in it. I'm doing the broker summit for NAR. And one thing that they asked for, they was like, Marky, we realize a lot of our brokers really don't even know what AI and Chat GPT are. Because I was going to give them a whole video, faceless video automation, right? They was like, back up, Jim Shoe. Can we just do 101? Right. So I'm realizing just the same way we explained what a prompt was in tone, I'm going to have to start there because it's new to so many people. A lot of people can't gain access to certain platforms now. And if you're not relentless like we are, you might have some hurdles, right? Yeah. Just try because it's new.
Right.
It's new.
Yeah. Well, and the good news is it's so easy in the sense that once you just see, it's not like you're, it's not like we teach a lot of social media. Obviously, we teach Facebook, we teach Instagram, we teach Canva, and there's a lot of like click here, then you click here, then you go here and here. There's a lot of little hacks and tips to make it quick and easy. And I think that was, at least for me, I'm sure probably for you too, just the draw of it's pretty straightforward. I mean, especially with Chat GPT or really any AI program, it's all about what are you asking it, right? And then getting better at asking the right questions and getting better at the tone, like you said, whether it's respectful. I wrote that down. I love that. I think that's such a great word to ask for. I know I've been using words like compelling. Write me a compelling email or write me a compelling, social media post about X, Y, and Z. And so learning some of those prompts, learning some of those words based on your tone, as you said, it's huge. But just, the great news is whether someone's at 101 or whether they're more advanced, it is those light bulbs of, holy cow, like what? And then understanding like this ChatGPT is just the beginning. I mean, it's integrated, like you said, into Grammarly, into Canva. I mean, it's integrated into so many different platforms. I just came across a site. I got to find it again because I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. I bookmarked it, but it's like a site of all these free AI sites right now, plus a whole list of, it's like an AI directory, right? Of free sites plus paid sites. I'm sure there's many directories that are out there. You could probably Google it. There's probably lots of directories out there, but yeah, it's pretty incredible.
So we know that it's infused all through Canva.
Yeah.
We know we got tones and we have prompts. The second thing that I did was I discovered all of these Chrome browser extensions, right? Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness, right?
There are some good ones.
I'm like, oh, I can do this and I can do that. So there is a fellow realtor. Her name is Lori Ballin. I was up one night binge watching at my favorite university, YouTube University. And really, I think we both have a PhD without fail from YouTube University.
Maybe a few PhDs in that, yeah.
Yeah, a few PhDs, right? Yeah. But we're gonna have an AI PhD before this is over. I've been in class so much. I think I'm through with my core studies, right? And so I'm sitting up and I'm watching Lori, and she gives me a plug into YouTube, right? So when you go to YouTube, you click on it, it gives you your full transcript. But she wrote a prompt on a platform called AIPRM. When I take the prompt from the YouTube video over to ChatGPT with this, it was a Chrome browser extension, I am able to get a title, a description, a summary for now repurposing your video content. So when we think about getting more visibility on our content, right? Now we could take, because we have videos galore on YouTube, right? We go over to YouTube, we summarize our own content because we have content. And now if we wanted to go over to a Medium or a Quora to bring more traffic, right, back to our site, we're not plagiarizing because it was our content to begin with, right? So ways that we can repurpose the content and it not sound or compete with the original content that was on our website. So I'm following at least 10 to 15 new people that I hadn't followed before, just off of the Chrome browser extensions. But then I realized a lot of people have never used a Chrome browser extension ever.
Wow.
So I'm trying to figure out how they've been using Pinterest, right? Because that's like my number, or Evernote.
That's my go-to. Yeah.
So now
or a Loom. I love the Loom one. I don't know if you've used that before.
I've used Loom.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so we got to explain Chrome browser extensions. And that's another light bulb moment, because real estate professionals, they're like, Chrome, oh, I can do what? And it works. Yes, honey, it works.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen, there's obviously a bunch of different plugins. There's one I installed recently. It's for ChatGPT, and it integrates if you have Gmail or if you have a email that's hosted through Google. So my email is katie@katielance.com, but it's hosted by Google. So this plugin, it's so cool. Basically, it's meant for email. So let's say you get an email and you want to be delicate with how you respond. Like you said, you want to be empathetic, or maybe it's kind of a negotiation. You can basically, this plugin will you can, enable it to look at that email. You can copy and paste it in if you want, and then it'll spit back out to you an appropriate reply. And of course, again, you can look at it and finagle it and edit it a little bit, but especially just for that one use of being a little bit more succinct with our emails, right? Getting our point across. And instead of having 12 emails back and forth, what if we could just, again, go back to being a little bit more efficient, succinct with our back and forth. And so that's what I've been playing around with. It's every time I'm like, man, yeah, that wrote it better than I would have said, and it sounds better. Okay.
Now, one thing I want to caution, though, our realtors, because this is becoming an issue, you still need to proof whatever content it creates. I'm just baffled.
Yes, 100%.
It is not, as an entrepreneur, it is not a responsible act to not proof anything that you're going to copy and paste.
Yeah. It is a starting point for anything, whether we're talking about email, whether we're talking about writing an MLS description or a social media post or YouTube, like you said, you have got to do your due diligence and proof and read it, and also add in your flavor, add in your 2 cents. That's the secret sauce. I think one of the biggest benefits is that you're not starting from scratch. If I need to write a compelling email, I can have one generated for me, and then I can go in and go, you know what? I love that part. Let me tweak that. This is not right. Let me fix that, and go from there.
One of the greatest uses, I believe, is for creating those faceless videos. And people think they don't need to know these tools, but here is the great joy of knowing it. I understand now that every voice I hear is not the voice of the person, and every face I see is not the face of the person. Every FBI police show that's on in the last 60 days has had a deep fake voice or a deep fake video as the center of their investigation, right?
Right.
And I'm like, well, now we know how easy it is to create those, right? And so when it comes up, you know how to go back and say, hey, these are tools that a person could use in order to create my voice likeness and or what I look like, because the tools are easily accessible. And a lot of these platforms, you can use and try these tools out for free.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you see? What do you see next? What do you think that realtors should do as a result of listening today?
I do think that obviously there's so many new exciting things with ChatGPT, with AI, with Canva. I do think that no matter what, there's certain things that are like foundational pieces that don't change, right? Real estate's a relationship business. As much as we love ChatGPT and social media, obviously it still doesn't change the fact, like meeting people face to face, a handshake, a hug, connecting. I just think all these tools can help do your job even better, be more efficient, right? I also think that we can't lose sight of the fact that all of this stuff is changing all the time. And you mentioned content a number of times. I have long believed, and I know you believe this too, of creating a content strategy, right? Content that goes with you wherever you go. So whether it's YouTube today, TikTok tomorrow, Facebook, Instagram, like all these social channels, there's a lot of stuff in the news buzzing, what's going to happen, this and that. But if you can take control of your voice, of your tone, of your personality, like then you layer in the Canva and the Chat GPT and the AI, and now you've got this body of work, right? That's really kind of working for you 24/7. If people are interested in what you do or what I do, like I don't always have to hop on the phone. Someone can go to my YouTube channel and watch my 500 YouTube videos I've created in the last, decade. And
that part.
Right? I mean, so I love all the new stuff. And I would say, don't be scared of it. Try it out. It's easier than ever, honestly. It's also not too late. I have a lot of agents will come to me and they feel like they're too old or it's too late or things have passed them by. And I just want to say, you are not too old and it is not too late. The opportunity is wide open. We are really at the infancy of so much of this. So, embrace that, try some of these new things out. And yeah, just don't be afraid. Like you said earlier, done is better than perfect. I live and die by that motto. So, don't suffer from analysis paralysis. Just
I love
dive
that.
in.
I'm telling people, hey, it just can't, like we just really gained access at the end of November 2022.
Yeah.
And if anyone professes to be an expert, I want you to know when the mass majority of people start using it. I'm not an expert in that space. I am an early adopter, right?
Exactly.
And
That's
so
how I feel too.
yeah, like it's not a expert. Now, when I mentioned Lori Ballin earlier, she was using, I believe, Jasper for a couple of years. Well, she might be an expert, right? For those who were using a copy AI or Jasper AI since their inception, they might be an expert, right? But there's very few experts in this space. There are people who start using it as soon as it hit the market.
Right.
And right now, you're not too late. I tell people, I don't even think we're scratching the surface. I think we're rubbing the surface. Like you go in and you get that new makeup palette, right? And you just kind of rub a little bit off. We haven't penetrated, right?
Yeah.
And so now is the time, because it is as simple as giving it instructions. And here I was getting ready to say written instructions, but we're also starting to see audio input. So you can give it instructions and it doesn't have to be written instructions. And one way that we can use these tools, because I just had a debate with my state, the state of Illinois, over a CE course, is when we start thinking about the American Disabilities Act, there are so many of these tools that allow us to service the visual, the audio impaired, right?
Yeah.
Different learning styles. And so everyone is not going to be a visual learner. Everyone is not going to be an audio learner. So now we could use this to even come up with tactile, essentially exercises for the tactile learner, right? So think outside of the box, but definitely try it out, because there are a lot of free tools in this space that you can get started with AI infused tools to aid you in your business. One thing that I'm always encouraging realtors to do, because sometimes they feel like they need to go back in time. If I was new today, I would actually use AI before Facebook, a LinkedIn, a Twitter, an Instagram, because it can tell you the strategy. It can actually look at someone else's strategy and tell you what to do. And so I would want to start with an AI platform looking for strategies and take that strategy and implement it.
Yeah.
That's where I would start. So, Katie, if people want to do business with you, want to hire you, want to take one of your wonderful courses, how do they find you and work with you?
Probably the easiest way is just to go to our website. So katielance.com, KATIELANCE, KatieLance.com. It's going to direct you to finding out more information about booking me as a speaker or booking as you are. Lots of stuff in person keynotes, in-person workshops, lots of stuff virtually as well. You got to love Zoom. We're still doing lots of virtual training. We also have our Get Social Smart Academy for any individual agents or brokers. It's a membership site and where we have all of our training and classes and courses. And we'll be rolling out some additional classes and courses over the next few months as things grow and change. But yeah, KatieLance.com is the easiest. Or of course on social media, I'm at Katie Lance basically everywhere. So send me a DM, give me a follow. Would love to connect with anybody out here listening. And make sure, and if you do that, by the way, message me and say, hey, I heard you with Marky. That way I know who you are and we can connect. So.
Well, thank you, Katie. As always, a plethora of information. I can't wait for us to see each other in person and just pull out these mobile devices and see what AI tools we've infused into our businesses. Everyone, make sure you connect with Katie Lance at katielance.com and on all of the social platforms. I learned from Katie. Katie motivates me to keep going and to know that you can, we got to give a shout out, be a woman on stage. Okay.
Amen.
There's a place for you on stage. Everybody have a great day.